Hello, my name is Chris and I'm a U-Haul hitch professional. If you're planning on towing a trailer with your BMW X5, then you're going to need trailer wiring. It is required by the law. Now let's take a look at how I complete this install. You will need the following tools or supplies to complete this installation. Begin this installation with the cargo hatch open. We will be installing our converter box here on the passenger side. So let's open up this trim panel using a trim panel removal tool. Next, we're going to remove this upper trim piece on the column. Again, use your panel tool. This is the wire bundle we're going to access for our turn signals. First, let's use our trim panel tool to remove the clip from the body to give us more access. Open up the tape with a sharp object. A quick tip, when probing wires, any wires twisted together in a bundle are typically part of a sensor and are unlikely to be the wires you need, so let's not probe them. We have confirmed functionality on our wiring. Do note that your vehicle could differ and that you need to test and confirm your signals on these same color wires before moving forward. We found brakes on a black wire, and we found the running lights on a gray wire with a brown tracer. For our indicator signals, we have jumped up to the front passenger side compartment, and we'll be working down here in the kick panel area. In order to remove this kick panel, we will remove a push rivet that has a T20 Torx fastener head. You can now pull the kick panel out. You'll need to pull down as there is a tab right here underneath the other panel. We will be working with this second bundle of wires on this second adapter. Use your tool again to open up the wires to begin testing. Now test to confirm left turn and right turn. I found left turn on a solid blue wire. I found right turn on a blue wire with a yellow tracer. Again, test your colors to confirm. We're now ready to install our tap-ins on the indicator wires. We are going to need an extended length of extra 14 gauge wire to bring these signals back into our previously accessed storage compartment. I'm going to use a red Scotch lock that is not included with the kit. It is able to grab a smaller gauge of wire, therefore I prefer to use them. Place the Scotch locks onto the identified right turn signal and then insert your extra length of green wire. You can now use a pair of linesman's pliers to clamp the tap-in shut. Now use your next tap-in on the left turn signal. We're now going to pass the rest of this wire back to the rear where the converter box will go. We're going to use it to fish itself or try to stuff it under any trim panels along the way so we have less components we have to remove and replace later. We're now going to remove this trim cover to expose our battery, as well as we're going to remove the liner so we can get our extra length of yellow and green wire back into the storage compartment. Now going to remove the clips for the trunk liner. You can now remove the trunk liner. Now that the trunk liner is out of the way, you will be able to fish this wire into the compartment. There is an access point right here that you will be able to begin pushing the wire through. And we can now jump back there and go pull it out. Now we will stuff this wire underneath the trim so it's not exposed. You can now hide the rest of the wire underneath the panel and bring it into where we will hide the converter box. To give me more options when I secure the converter box, I'm also going to extend my red and brown wires. So again, an extra length of wire. Place your tap-in on the identified brake signal. Use the extra length of wire for the brake signal and close them shut with a pair of linesman's pliers. Now repeat these steps for your running lights. Now pass these extra lengths of wire into the compartment where we can attach the converter box. We are now ready to install the wire harness. I'm going to use heat shrink butt connectors. These are not included with the kit. You can now use your heat source of choice to melt the heat shrink butt connector. We can now connect our fuse holder and power wire to the battery and route it over inside the compartment. I like to leave a long and short end, battery end, converter box end. Install the ring terminal onto the fuse holder. Cut off a portion of the black power wire to use. You will not need the whole roll. You can affix the fuse holder here. Use a 10mm socket to remove this fastener. Now reaffix the fastener. Keep the profile of the wire snug against the battery. Do not zip tie to this gray hose. It is a vacuum hose and you cannot pinch it off. Now bring the open end of the wire into our storage compartment. Use some of these electrical wires that exist to use as an anchor point and pass it under this plastic trim. Now use provided zip ties to secure the wiring to existing wiring on the vehicle. You can now use double-sided sticky tape to secure the converter box in a convenient, out-of-the-way location down here in the storage compartment. You can now use the provided self-tapping screw and a 1/4-inch bit driver to secure the ground wire to a bare metal surface. With all the connections made, you can now install the 15-amp fuse so that we can test our 4-flat connector for the proper functionality. Now I'm going to use some electrical tape or zip ties to go ahead and clean up some of this wiring in the storage compartment for the customer. We also want to pass the 4-flat connector underneath for access later on. You can now address where to put the 4-flat connector. Our customer would prefer to leave it in the trunk for the off chance that they use it. However, if you prefer to route it underneath the vehicle, you can put it on a bracket. I will link one for purchase in the description below, as well as they can be picked up at your nearest local U-Haul Hitch Center. Place the retention strap of the dust cover over the wire harness, and it can then be used as a reusable tie to coil up the wiring. We can now put all the vehicle's trim back together. Make sure you keep this wire harness accessible to be able to stretch it out to the trailer after we're finished. When installing your trunk liner, there is a post to affix that on, and then you can install your trim clips. Behind the trim is an upper clip, which in our case came out. Insert it into place and make sure the carpeted trim passes between these two pieces of plastic. On the front passenger kick panel, make sure this tab goes behind the plastic of the glove box and dashboard. Be sure all the tabs are lined up and that your extra wire will not be caught underneath them, and press them into position. That concludes trailer wiring for your BMW X5. Please remember to practice safe trailering, and I can't wait to see you out there. If you have any questions about the products seen in this video, or if you'd like to schedule an installation with your local U-Haul Hitch professional, please visit us online at uhaulhitches.com. You can also download the U-Haul app using the link in the description for even more ways to manage your hitch and towing needs.